Welcome and thank you for listening to the Sales Maven Show. I'm Nikki Roush, your host, and today is one of our Mastering Excellence series interviews. And I'm super excited to bring this concept to you and to bring this speaker to you, the guest today. Now, if you're hearing this for the first time, what is the Mastering Excellence series? It comes from my background in neurolinguistic programming, where we learn that there is a structure to excellence. And when you can get in and understand the structure of how someone is achieving exceptional results in some area of their life or business, you can then take that structure and apply it to your own life or business so that you can get similar results. So it's all about digging in with the expert. Today's guest is Kimberly Howard. Now, let me tell you a little bit about her. Kimberly Howard is the founder of Kimberly Howard Consulting, where she helps women entrepreneurs step fully into their CEO role with clarity, direction, and a plan through strategic mapping and CEO days. She also co-owns Willie and Kim Photography with her husband and serves as the director of operations at Real Estate Bestie. As a wife, a mom, entrepreneur, and follower of Christ, Kimberly knows the challenge of balancing big goals with what matters most at home. And she's passionate about helping others do the same. Kimberly, welcome to the show, friend.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here. Now, I always like to give people a little bit of context. I guess I should say, first and foremost, here's what we're going to be talking about today is we're going to talk about the power of the invisible leadership, because I have had really unique experience of getting to see Kimberly in action with this, the power of her invisible leadership and how she shows up. And it is something to behold. It is really exceptional, which is why I wanted to bring her on and talk about this. Because one, I'm in awe of all that she balances and does, and that she does it so well. But this idea of, for some of us, we are kind of at times in our life, we're in the like behind the scenes, making things happen. And that it doesn't need to be something that's overlooked or something that's like not valued. So I'm so excited to have this conversation. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
And I always like to give the audience a little bit, like I said, some context about how we know each other and how I've gotten to witness you in action. We first met a couple years ago now, maybe a year and a half ago now, at a retreat where
Yes.
you were there really from this place of powerful invisible leadership supporting your entrepreneur. So will you
Yes.
talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So we met within the context of this mastermind where the CEO and their right hand got to come along for the coaching experience. So I stepped into a room not knowing anyone because the CEO that I'm serving was the one who signed up for coaching in this mastermind, this retreat. And I was just excited to like come along and be able to hear the same information that they're hearing firsthand. And then also get to kind of collaborate with some other people who serve in kind of this right hand role, which was really, really valuable. And so I got to meet you there. You were a part of this mastermind. You spoke and presented at this mastermind, and I got so much value, not only from like the person coordinating the event, but from you showing up and sharing all of your knowledge and expertise in that space. And that just kind of started a relationship of where we got to speak and help and collaborate. And
Hmm.
it's been a really fruitful relationship that I'm excited about.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to know you. And I got to do a little bit of kind of support for you and the person that you're the right hand person for, which I'm going to just call out. Is that okay if
Yeah.
I just, okay? Because she was on the podcast recently. So people
Yes.
make some reference to this. So this is Rosemary Lewis, who's brilliant. She has the Real Estate Bestie
Mhm.
and just got to speak at the conference that her and Kimberly put on. Now, the first year that they were doing the conference, I got to do a little bit of coaching and supporting them from the behind the scenes sales piece
Yes.
of it. So that was really fun to get to kind of know that you guys were doing this and like the get in on the like what was the plan and how was it going to, be talked about, and then to get asked this last year to speak at the event and then get to see you in action. And man, what a smooth, maybe you'll feel differently, but from the speaker perspective, what a smoothly run conference, the way you communicated with me as a speaker, there was just so much that made it easy, interesting. And when I showed up, I felt good. I felt like I know where I'm supposed to be and when and where. And the team was awesome. And you were just in your element, really, I think. I don't know. How do you think? How do you think about it?
Yeah. I hope you also felt loved,
I did feel
like that
loved.
you were just a part of the community.
I
Like you weren't a
totally
guest,
did.
you were there and a part of the community.
I talked about that when Rosemary was on, and I shared how, like, just at one point, I was coming out of a stall in the bathroom and somebody walked by me and she's like, "Hey, bestie." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is like, these are my people," because there's just so much love and support. And you and Rosemary did such a great job of holding a space for everybody to show up in that mindset of like, this is about all of us. Like, we're all in this together. It felt so great.
Yeah, that was I mean, community is huge. Just a big foundation and driving value. And so whether you were the speaker or someone coming alone into this group of people
Mhm.
and not feeling like, do I belong? Or your support staff, like we wanted everybody to feel a part of that community.
That I love that you said that. And that actually kind of maybe leads into what is not my traditional first question in this type of interview, but I do want to ask this because we're talking about this idea of the power of invisible leadership. So, how do you measure that when you think about the work that you do that is often kind of invisible? It's like behind the scenes stuff. How do you think about it? You know, if I'm stepping into your shoes for the day, how am I thinking about having powerful leadership from a place that's often invisible?
Yeah, so I think one of the main things, and it can be a constant struggle, honestly, is that it's less of me. It's not about me.
Mm,
I have bought into a vision and a mission, a set of values, a leader. Um, and so what I do is to move that mission, that vision, those values forward. And that is regardless of whether I'm named or unnamed. Like that is what I have bought onto, and I am going to push it fully.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that you said that. This idea of, well, I think that I teach this about sales too. Like, it's not about you, it's about the other person. And I really love this idea of that it is about really buying into the mission, it and the values of the person that you're supporting in this particular case. I think that that is
Yeah.
so
I think,
important.
yeah, because if there's a disconnect there, I don't think that I can do it authentically. Because then I'm faking something that I'm not completely on board with. Not to say that
Mm,
you have to be, but I think that that lessens the tension when I'm fully bought into it as well.
mm, yeah.
If we've got competing values, then it just isn't going to work as seamlessly,
Hmm.
in my opinion.
Well, then that leads me to the kind of another question then is how do you handle a situation where maybe you're not quite bought in or maybe it doesn't really align? How do you handle those situations? Like, what do you do in that moment? Because again, I see you as such a powerful leader. So yeah, I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, I think it gives me the opportunity to ask questions. I
Mm,
think something that you talk about often is to stay curious.
yeah.
Right. And so I get to ask questions, and whether those questions are for gaining more knowledge and coming on board, or if they're to, poke holes and let us kind of problem solve and navigate that, whether it's
Mhm.
bringing a different perspective. And so I think the key has just been really just asking questions. And then sometimes I think there's also a point where you trust the leader. And so everything we've learned, and we've been in some of the same coaching circles, everything's a test. And so
Mhm.
sometimes we go for it, we test it out. It could be great, it could be a flop, but either way, we've got more data for moving forward.
Yeah. I love that you're speaking from this place too. And I just want to comment on this because I think sometimes, I think there is this. maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to think of how to say this without like letting the judgment go behind it. So please know I'm coming from this place of,
Yeah.
and this is for the listener. This isn't about you, Kimberly, but just from this place that sometimes, we're told like speak up, like stand in your own authentic power. And like, and I feel like for you to say in this moment that even when you don't necessarily understand the vision or agree with the vision or maybe aren't on board with it, that it isn't about like you kind of speaking up and like making your point known, that you say, like, I take a step back and I ask questions to try to come from this place of understanding. And that, again, is one of those things that I think separates you from the pack, frankly, that too many people want to push their agenda and push their
Mm.
kind of thought process about something or their beliefs about something before they do this very important step, which is ask questions. That to me, I feel like we could end the interview. We're not going to, but we could end there and just say, like, that is the kind of gold nugget. Because even in a sales situation, when I'm working with a client who pushes back, and that happens, I get clients that will push back on certain things. Like, it isn't about me forcing my way. It is like being curious of like, okay, let's understand like what is coming up for you or what's causing this to feel out of alignment or like, and when I can ask questions, like things do kind of, it's like the dam opens up, right? Versus like we're just stacking more, logs on the dam here.
Yeah,
So,
and I think sometimes, because I'm thinking kind of two different scenarios, like with real estate bestie, I think Rosemary is very like we've gotten into a rhythm where she is used to me asking questions or saying, "Look, I don't love it, but let's talk about it." I often don't just jump out and say no.
yeah.
But then I'm also thinking about my husband, who I also get to work with some too.
Yeah.
And we had to get to a place that questions were okay. Because initially he received questions as disagreement or challenge, as opposed to seeking more knowledge and let's explore. So I think that sometimes in some relationships, I can just jump out with the questions, and others, I have to set the stage for the questions.
Mm. That's such an important distinction. Thank you for bringing that into the conversation. Yeah, some people can see questions as, you know, it puts them on the defensive or like,
Yes.
why are you questioning me? Right?
Yes.
Versus like, I'm trying to understand the process or
Mhm.
understand like the outcome or yeah. Love
Yeah.
that you brought that in. Thank you so much. All right. So here's kind of a follow-up question then to that is when you think about this idea of really leading from this place that's often, like I said, invisible, what boundaries or communication practices do you create or put into place so that there is a mutual respect? I feel like I'm asking the hard
Still
ones.
learning, work in progress. Honestly, that is a place that I'm working on right now.
Okay.
Like actively working on.
Actively working on. Okay.
Yes, because in both the relationships, like these are relationships that if the business were going to put the relationships in jeopardy, I'd get rid of the business, no questions asked,
Yeah.
because I value the relationships that much.
Yeah.
So I will say some boundaries we have put around because entrepreneurship, like, yes, ideally, I want to be in this place of entrepreneurship where there is a clear cutoff, but in reality, that's just not the life I'm living yet,
Hmm.
right? But we've put in some types of things like where friends, we're going to text back and forth on the phone. Business, we've set up a different form of communication, whether that's Voxer or Slack.
Hmm.
And if I don't answer that after 5 p.m., that's okay. Because we've got that boundary that, yeah, technically business is done, but if you decide to get to it, go for it. You can go into that app or not in order to
Hmm.
continue communication.
Yes.
So I would say that that's one place that I put boundaries around communication. And I think the other is probably expectations, which just where I am currently, we got into this kind of backwards. We didn't say, here's the job description, here's how
Mm.
you're going to serve, here's your responsibilities. It was more like, I'm growing this thing. I don't think I can do this without you. Will you come on board? And so we are honestly actively building, like we're actively looking at what is the organizational structure? How does the whole team communicate? Because now it has grown to a team beyond where it's just the two of us. How do we get everybody together? And so yeah, that is a work in progress for me right now.
Yeah. I mean, I will say I was surprised at the size of the team just at the event.
Yeah.
And makes sense because it was a big event and there
Mhm.
were big things happening. When I think about what you guys charge for the ticket, I was like, I feel like they should have been charging three times the price for this ticket of like what is included, what's happening. It was so phenomenal, so great. Yeah, it was just and fun too. It was really fun. But like, there was quite a team of
Yeah.
support, right? Like we think about that and this idea of, again, and this idea of you being kind of behind the scenes what were the goals for you as far as, like, leading the team?
Yeah, so I think same as me, it was to trickle that down to others. So just like how I said that um, to be bought into the mission, the vision, the values, the people that we brought on, a lot of them are in this community in different ways already. And so every meeting we had with them, the first thing is, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? How do we show that to every single person who walks through the door and in every interaction? We yeah, so it was really being firm in what was our vision, our mission, our values, and how do we make sure that that's not just coming from the stage, but through every person who is serving in any capacity here.
Yeah. I mean, well, you nailed it because even just like anybody on the team that was on the support team, from the welcoming when I was, walking up to the table to, now I can't think what her name is. She was so delightful. That was helping me like, get mic'd up for the just
Mhm.
and practice my presentation, make sure the slides were working, like
Mhm.
just the whole thing. Everybody had this it felt like we're all on the same page here.
Yeah.
And like you said, like, did you feel loved? I felt loved on. I felt cared for
Yeah.
from everybody.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad.
Yeah, you
That
nailed
was a
it.
goal.
Yeah, you guys nailed
Achieved.
it.
Check
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there were some other goals too, but like
Yes,
that was
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, it was so apparent. Um, okay. So here's kind of my next question about this. When you think about this idea of powerful leadership and specifically like from behind the scenes, what are some like actions or mindsets that come into play for you? What comes to mind?
Um, is it okay? I can just be honest, right?
You just be you,
Um,
girl. Like you're perfect. I've said this to you a couple times now. Like you're so perfect. I just want your answer, whatever comes to
uh,
mind.
I think that God has given all of us a certain skill set. He's given all of us certain gifts. He has prepared places and positions and people for us. And if everybody's trying to do what somebody else does or what they see, somebody else is not going to be served because you're not stepped into what God has called you specifically to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I have to own my lane. And while for me in this main role, Rosemary is a visionary,
Mm-hmm.
I get to be an integrator that supports. Um, and so I have to own that role. Like I can't try to be her, she can't try to be me. And if we do try to, no one's going to be served at the level that it could be if we own the role that we were in.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for saying that. I think so. So my follow-up question then is, how do you know you're owning your role? Like what kind of evidence comes out of that?
Yeah, I believe that I've done some work on seeing how I'm gifted. So I know that I'm gifted in administration. I know I'm gifted in teaching. I know I'm gifted in supports and help. Um, and I know that the person that I'm working with has different giftings and they complement each other. Um, yeah, like we're not competing for the same gift or the same role. Like we've realized like there are things that I'm very good at that you maybe not to say that you are not because you probably can, like there's a zone of competency, you
Yep.
know.
Yep.
um but there are also things that I could be better at, but why work on getting better at that when I have you who's really really good at it and you're willing to partner with me?
Hmm. So I, I'm wondering about this because I had this conversation with somebody recently, um, and they were sharing this idea that sometimes you put yourself, and I've been in these situations too, where when you're really stepping into the thing that you're really good at, that it can at sometimes feel threatening to the other person. And
Mm,
I'm not saying that you guys have that in any way.
yeah.
I don't pick that up or see that, but um, there is something really powerful of you being willing to just say, like, this is my lane, and I'm willing to stand in it and not be threatened by somebody else who's standing in their lane, but find a way for it to complement each other versus it somehow becoming a threat. I don't know. Have you ever experienced something like that? Or when you think about that, because sometimes not everybody wants to be the behind the scenes person.
Mhm.
Sometimes they want to be, on stage, or they want it not on stage, but like, do you know what I mean? Where I'm going, like this idea of like, does it become threatening at some point?
Yeah. I want to say, like, from my lived experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel in no way threatened. And I feel like as the person behind the scenes, I feel like the more tempting person to be threatened is the person who's in the limelight and on stage, and you would have to
Yes.
ask that person. But
Okay.
because I'm not that person, I
Mm-hmm.
don't think I have been threatened in that way or felt threatened in that way. And I feel like threatened, it feels like such a
I know
harsh
it seems
word,
like
and
a
maybe it's
harsh
not the right
word.
word. I would
I'll say
say
pinched
that,
then. How about
yeah,
pinched?
yeah. I would say that, mm, I'm filtering. I would say that there is this tension to say, but you totally could be in the limelight if you wanted to. You
Uh-huh.
totally could be in the front if you wanted to. Um, but I know and I don't know how I know, Nikki, but I know I'm better served where I am.
Mm-hmm.
I know I enjoy where I am.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm honestly like by comparison, I am the introvert's introvert. I love small groups and close knit and behind doors. Um, but I also know that like we've been in situations and Rosemary will say, this wouldn't happen without Kim doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that, right?
Yeah.
Um, I believe it could, like somebody else could step into role. I know that this vision, this mission is bigger than me or her. I feel like now I'm just rambling.
No,
But
well, okay. Let me, oh,
wait,
sorry.
let
What were you
me
going to say? Yeah. Yeah.
what one other thing. We've been in the position where they're like, I need a Kim.
Yeah.
They don't need a Kim to serve in the way Rosemary is going to coach them because they need her for that role. And then they're speaking of me because of the behind the scenes role where they need help too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't know if I answered your question, but those are the things that come to mind.
Well, okay. So I feel like you just gave us some real insight to some thoughts and maybe some structure even. So I'm gonna check
Okay.
in about it, and also for the listener. So I'm kind of talking this out as I say it. So we're all in this together. Um, One of the things that I wish everybody could see your face, and there is a video of this, right? So it'll be on YouTube if you're looking. But when I asked you this question about this idea of like tension between you and the other person, this is like a perfect NLP moment. When you ask a question that the person gets a look on their face like does not compute. It was like I asked you a question that didn't make any sense because you then said, I don't get threatened. Like does not compute, which is this so many like little NLP moments that just happened. Um, and that is an indicator of how somebody like yourself can be so incredibly powerful in this invisible leadership. And really, from a place of leadership, I really want to emphasize this leadership piece that it isn't like it does not compute for her that there would be any tension or threatening or pinching, right? To take some of the sting out of that really like harsh word, because you're showing up fully as yourself and that confidence is so apparent. So, like, that's some structure right there. Because if you're going to show up from this place and think about, you're going to put yourself in a role where you want to be the behind the scenes supporter. If you haven't quite yet mastered your own level of confidence where you aren't threatened, it may not be showing up as invisible leadership like Kimberly is doing because she's mastered it. So for her, it does not compute because she's got it. This is why I'm interviewing her about
Well,
this.
and that's such a good point because honestly, like when if I try to step into a different role, it doesn't even feel right.
Mhm.
It feels inauthentic.
Mhm.
So yeah. And I think I'm learning more to pay attention to feelings because
Mhm.
I am very much a data doesn't make sense logically.
Yeah.
But the feelings, that's data too. And I'm learning to lean into
Mhm.
acknowledge, name, deal with the feelings that come along with things too.
Yeah. So thank you. I feel like even if nobody else got anything out of that particular answer, which I thought it was a great answer, there was so much in there for me that I was like, oh, there's like gold in here in the way that it's like, okay, this is where you can tell you're talking to somebody who has mastered something because it just doesn't make sense. Just to bring some context to this is one of my master level projects that I did when I was studying NLP was what does it take to be in a long-lasting loving relationship? I wanted to understand the structure of it. And I would ask a question and I interviewed quite a few people who from the outside I had maybe a glimpse into what their relationship was and I was super interested and I interviewed all different types of couples. Um, and when I would ask this question of like, well, what would cause you to end? Like what would cause the relationship to stop? How you could really tell that people were like really in it is they didn't ever understand that question. It was like, what? Like,
Like,
repeat I
stop.
don't like, give me a different, like, I don't like, they didn't ever even know how to answer the question because to them, there was no end.
Yeah,
That's how you have a long lasting,
yeah,
loving relationship. That's not the only answer, by the way, for anybody listening, but that was the one where I knew I was talking to the right person
yeah,
when they gave me the answer like that you just gave when I gave about the tension. It
yeah.
was like,
And to that point,
I
like
get that.
she hypes me up. She's like, "No, you can do this. You're better at this than you think. Like you can do this." And I get to pump her up in the things that she does too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah,
And just because you can do something doesn't mean you have to, right? Or
exactly.
that it's like your God given gift, or it feels like it fits. To me, I
Hmm.
think about it sometimes. It's like, am I? I think about the Chris Farley like fat guy in the little coat. Like, am I trying to be in the little coat right now because it doesn't fit?
Yeah, yeah,
I can show up. I've got a coat on, but it doesn't fit.
right.
Yeah. Okay.
Love it.
All right. So let's see. I think that's kind of, is there anything we haven't talked about that you want to make sure that we talk about this behind the scenes um invisible leadership?
Yeah, no, I mean, one thing I would always refer to, but I mean, I don't know how much of that you want, but in the Bible, David and Jonathan, like that's what we we say we have a lot of names, right? And then, but David and Jonathan, like David was tapped to be king. Jonathan, by blood, by heritage, should have been king. But Jonathan bought into the mission, the vision that God had set for David. He gave up his armor for David to go forward, right? If Jonathan had competed, the story might have been a lot different.
Yeah.
But also David couldn't get where he got to without Jonathan. And so I think Jonathan has an important role in that, and so do I. So
Thank you. That just gave
yeah.
me the chills. I love that. Thank you for sharing that too. And again, I think just for the listener, one of the things I'm observing here about Kimberly is that she really is standing in her place of expertise and credibility. She's not playing small. She's really owning her contribution. And there's some structure in that of like, I understand my role. I stay in my lane and I'm very confident in my contribution and I'm not minimizing it in any way. Like you understand the value of it. And that is so incredibly powerful.
Thank you for capturing that, Nikki. I'm gonna put that
Okay.
on repeat somewhere for myself. I needed that affirmation.
It's my observations from what you've shared. I really appreciate it. All right. As we tend to wrap up, I always like to, I call this the little something extra section of the questions. So, my first question I love to hear from people is what is something that brings you joy right now?
Brings me joy. I love outdoor walks right now.
Mm,
Any time of day. Like my norm has been the mornings, like part of a workout. But lately, like I love them in the evening as like a wind down. They're also like when I hit a wall with working, I go midday. Like I just love, love, love outdoor walks. Whether they're fast paced, slow paced, silent with music, it doesn't matter. Outdoor walks, give me joy
yeah,
right now.
outdoor walks. Love that. Oh, that's awesome. What is my next question is what is something people would be surprised to learn about you?
That I was a medic in the army.
I am surprised. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Amazing. How many years?
Served for 6 years.
Thank you for your service. That's
Of course.
incredible.
Thank you.
Incredible. Okay. What about something exciting going on in your business right now?
Oh gosh, something exciting in my business right now. Well, I'm a part of so many business, but in my own
You
personal
are.
business, um, I have not. Ew. Okay, you might have to edit.
Okay.
Let me think. Which one I want to give? When will
You,
this go out?
you can give more than one if you want. This will air probably in 4 to 5 weeks.
Okay, so November-ish.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, right now, like end of year, beginning of the year is
Mhm.
when a lot of business owners are setting goals, setting strategy for how they're going to move their business forward. So it's a busy time of the year for me. And so I'm excited for the business owners that I will get to come in contact with and get to work with in like this Q4, Q1 time, because it's just that mindset of, okay, how do I want to move my business forward? What are my goals? And I love that I get to come alongside business owners in that process.
There's something about having somebody who can walk you through that process and walk alongside you that sees it from a outsider's perspective, but also from an educated, experienced perspective. So what a gift for those people who are going to get to work with you during that time.
Yeah,
Like incredible. All right. So how can somebody listening connect with you? What's the best
sure.
way?
Um, I enjoy Instagram. I'm a Instagram stalker more than participator. But
Me too.
but Instagram and my website are both kimberlyhoward.co, no M at the end. And so there you can learn more about me, as a business person, as a mom, wife, friend, but also about my business as well.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Kimberly, thank you so much for saying yes to this. I'm so grateful for you, for to know you, to get to, see you behind the scenes and the things that you've accomplished, but also just I got to see you with your kids, and I got to meet your husband at the event, and just beautiful family. You're a beautiful person, and I'm just grateful to know you. So thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. I appreciate it.
And for you, the listener, thank you for being here. Thanks for listening. I would love to know, what was your biggest takeaway from this particular episode? What stood out for you? What really resonated? And reach out to me, and reach out to Kimberly too. Like I'm connected to her on Instagram, so I get to see her stuff too. But like, let her know, what was your biggest takeaway, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks for listening.